about Judy Garland. She more than acted her lyrics, she lived them. I think she's one of the greatest actresses in the world.
At the height of Hollywood's golden age, Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland were more than just co-stars. They were icons whose friendship fueled some of the most beloved films of their time. But beneath the glitz and glamour, there were secrets and struggles few knew about. Judy, deeply infatuated with Mickey, found herself in a painful one-sided love, while Mickey saw her as a best friend, never as a romantic partner. Their lives became bound up in a cycle of pressure, betrayal, and survival orchestrated by MGM's powerful studio head, Louis B. Mayer. What untold truths did Mickey later reveal about their complicated bond and the harsh realities of life in the spotlight? You might not know this, but Mickey Rooney, the little guy with the big personality, was born Joseph Ewell Jr. in Brooklyn, New York. That's right, Mickey Rooney was his stage name. His parents were both performers, which meant he was basically born into show business. His mom, Nellie, had been a chorus girl and a burlesque dancer. She came from Kansas City, Missouri, a long way from New York City. His dad, Joe, was a vaudeville actor who came from Glasgow, Scotland, all the way across the ocean. They settled down in the Greenpoint neighborhood of Brooklyn, a place filled with hard-working families and busy streets. Now, here's something cute. When Mickey was born, his parents were performing together in a show called A Gaiety Girl. They even included baby Mickey in their act before he was even old enough to know it. He later told people that he started performing at just 17 months old. Can you imagine? He was still a baby, but his parents dressed him up in a little tuxedo, and he would wobble out onto the stage. Audiences loved it, and it seemed like Mickey was born with that spark of showmanship. But things weren't always so cheerful. When Mickey was only 4, his parents split up. His mom took him to Hollywood to start fresh, just the two of them. Mickey was just a little guy, but his mom believed he had something special. She'd seen an ad in a newspaper looking for a child actor, and she thought, why not Mickey? And that's how he ended up in front of a camera for the first time in 1926. He was 6 years old, and the movie was called Not to Be Trusted. It was a small part, but it was enough to get him noticed. After that, Mickey got to be in a few more films. He worked with some big stars, too. People like Clark Gable, John Wayne, and Jean Harlow, who were already huge names in Hollywood. Can you imagine being a kid and acting alongside these legends? But Mickey held his own, and people in Hollywood started to notice him. He even got into the Hollywood Professional School, where young actors went to study between movie shoots. He later moved to Fairfax High School, keeping one foot in the real world and one in Hollywood. Then came something big, a role that would change everything. Mickey's mom found an ad for a series of short films that needed a child to play a character called Mickey Maguire. She got him an audition, and just like that, he became Mickey for 78 short films. The first one was called Mickey's Circus, and it came out in 1927. People loved it, and Mickey was so good at it that he just kept playing the role for nearly a decade, right up until 1936. By then, people knew him as Mickey, not Joseph, and he decided to keep it that way. Mickey was a busy kid acting in tons of films, including more in the Mickey Maguire series. He even tried his hand at voice acting for a character named Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, a bit of fun on the side. But his real breakout came when he got the role of Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream. It was a huge moment for him, even though he was only 14. He played Puck with a kind of magical energy, making critics take notice of his talent. One critic even called it one of the cinema's most arresting pieces of magic. Around this time, he made a move to MGM Studios, and that's where he met someone who would become a big part of his life, Judy Garland. Together, they starred in a series of musicals that were all about energy, charm, and fun. When Mickey and Judy began working together at MGM, they were just two kids trying to find their way in a place full of lights, cameras, and all the hustle and bustle of Hollywood. MGM had its own little schoolhouse for young stars right there on the studio lot, run by a teacher named Mary McDonald. She'd been brought in to teach French to another young actress, but MGM's boss, Louis B. Mayer, was so impressed with her that he gave her a full-time job teaching all the child stars. Pretty soon, There were so many kids at MGM that McDonald had to ask Mayer for more space. She told him she couldn't handle all the kids in such cramped quarters, and before she knew it, she got her own bungalow on the lot. Mayer was known for treating his studio like it was a big, happy family, and he liked the idea of kids running around the lot. In his mind, child stars were a symbol of innocence and hope. He wanted his movies to bring whole families to the theater, so he needed these young performers to play the roles of brothers, sisters, and friends that audiences could relate to. Mickey and Judy, with their big eyes and innocent smiles, were perfect for Mayer's dream family. But making movies with young stars took a lot of work, and it wasn't just about acting. They had to go to school, take dance lessons, work with vocal coaches, and keep a tight schedule. And while it might have seemed like a cozy family on the outside, the reality was different. Both Mickey and Judy would come to feel a lot of pressure under Mayer's guidance. Mickey once said that Mayer wanted to change America through his movies, showing an ideal world that people could believe in. This idea of a perfect family was exactly what led Mayer to make the Andy Hardy movies, where Mickey played a cheerful, small-town boy full of dreams. In A Family Affair, the first film in the series, Mickey's character, Andy Hardy, was the teenage son of a wise judge in a peaceful, picture-perfect town. The movie wasn't a huge hit at first, but something surprising happened. Theaters in small towns across the country asked for more Andy Hardy stories. They wanted to see more of this world where families stuck together, where kids were good-hearted, and where small towns felt like the safest places on earth. So MGM made not just one more Andy Hardy movie, but 14. Mickey became one of the most beloved faces in America, the kid who symbolized all things good and simple. Alongside Mickey in many of the Andy Hardy films was Judy Garland. By now, Judy was going by her stage name, but she'd been born Frances Gumm, and like Mickey, had started her career in vaudeville. They were the same in a lot of ways. Both were short, bright-eyed kids who had been working since they could walk. Both came from families that had struggled, and both were the main breadwinners helping their mothers keep things going. Unlike other child stars who came to the studio in the mornings and went home at night, MGM was like a second home, even more of a real home, for Mickey and Judy. When they first met in 1935, Mickey was already a little star, but Judy was still trying to prove herself. She'd been signed by MGM at the same time as another young singer named Deanna Durbin, a tall, beautiful girl with an opera voice that MGM thought could be a big hit. At first, it looked like there wouldn't be enough room at MGM for both of them. Judy and Deanna even appeared in a short film called Every Sunday, where Deanna sang opera, and Judy performed in her own jazzy style. For a while, no one knew which of the two girls MGM would keep, but eventually, they picked Judy. Even though she'd been chosen, Judy still felt unsure about her place at the studio. For the first year, she didn't get any big roles. Instead, she spent her days in classes and her afternoons in endless vocal and dance lessons. But one night changed everything. Judy's vocal coach and MGM producer Roger Edens had an idea that Judy should sing a special song at a birthday party for Clark Gable, MGM's biggest star at the time. The song was "You Made Me Love You," and the way Judy sang it was like a letter from a starry-eyed girl to her favorite actor. Her performance stole the show. When she finished, Gable himself came up and gave her a big kiss, which must have made Judy feel like she was on top of the world. She looked over at Louis B. Mayer, who had his arms open like a proud dad, and she ran right over to him. From that moment on, Mayer saw her as something special. She quickly got cast in 2 movies with Mickey, Thoroughbreds Don't Cry, where Mickey played a cocky young jockey, and Love Finds Andy Hardy, where she joined him in the world of his famous character. The two of them, Mickey and Judy, became Hollywood's favorite pair. They had a chemistry that felt natural and joyful, like they were best friends both on and off the screen. They laughed together, sang together, and seemed to lift each other up, even when the long hours and the pressure started to wear them down. They became such a successful duo that MGM paired them in one movie after another, especially in musicals directed by the famous Busby Berkeley. They were young, charming, and seemed like they were always having the time of their lives. But behind the scenes, life wasn't always so bright. Both Mickey and Judy felt the weight of being responsible for their families, for making money, and for living up to MGM's expectations. Louis B. Mayer played a big part in their lives, sometimes as a mentor, sometimes as a father figure, and sometimes as the boss who demanded more from them than they could give. Judy Garland may have been Mickey Rooney's best friend on screen, but in the Andy Hardy movies, she was never his love interest. She was always the friend, the one who knew how to keep Andy grounded, but who was never the girl he chased after. In Love Finds Andy Hardy, Judy's character, Betsy actually had a crush on Andy, but he was too focused on a glamorous girl played by Lana Turner to notice her. In the movie, Betsy tries to bribe Andy not to go out with Lana's character, this beautiful, sophisticated girl who shows up to the soda shop wearing a suit, looking way too grown-up for a teenager. Judy, as Betsy, was Andy's supportive sidekick, the friend who helped him sort out his problems and laughed at his jokes. It was an unrequited crush on screen and, as it turned out, off-screen too. Judy had a huge crush on Mickey in real life. Mickey brought out the best in her. He was lively, confident, and already experienced in acting. Once, before they filmed a scene together, Mickey gave Judy some advice she would remember for the rest of her life. He pulled her aside, held her hands, and told her, "Honey, you gotta believe this now. Make like you're singing it." Mickey's advice clicked with Judy right away, helping her turn her natural musical talent into expressive acting. She understood from that point on how to put real feeling into her lines, just like she did with her songs. But Mickey didn't feel the same way about Judy. Just like Andy Hardy couldn't see Betsy as anything more than a friend, Mickey saw Judy as his pal, not a romantic partner. He was fond of her, saw her as his equal in talent, and felt close to her, but he wasn't interested in her as a girlfriend. And to make things harder for Judy, Mickey had no problem chasing after other women. He had eyes for almost every girl in town and seemed to go on dates non-stop, even with older women like actress Norma Shearer. Mickey saw himself as quite the catch. He once said, "I began to meet my obligations to a good many of the gals in town who were dying to meet me. Who wouldn't want to go out with me? I had my own car, I had some nickels in my pocket, and I was somebody." Mickey liked being popular, and he enjoyed the attention. By 1939, the Andy Hardy movies had become so successful that they brought in nearly half of MGM's yearly profits. That same year, Judy starred alongside Mickey in Babes in Arms, another hit movie. She also played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, the role that would make her famous forever. But The Wizard of Oz, while popular, didn't change Judy's life as much as you might think. She still had to work long days at MGM, acting in movies that had her playing scrappy kids putting on shows in barns or singing in small-town dances. MGM sent her and Mickey on grueling promotional tours where they did 34 live shows a week with no days off. People came to see the movie, but they also came to see Judy and Mickey live, singing and dancing on stage before each screening. For her hard work, Judy got a special juvenile Oscar that year, presented to her by none other than Mickey himself. Then, in 1942, Mickey decided to marry a new MGM starlet, Ava Gardner. Louis B. Mayer wasn't happy about it. He called Mickey into his office and told him, "I simply forbid it, that's all, I forbid it." Mickey didn't back down, though. "You've got no right to do that," he said. "This is my life." But Mayer snapped back, "It's not your life. Not as long as you're working for me. MGM has made your life." In the end, Mickey was allowed to go through with a small wedding to Ava Gardner, but his constant dating and flirting eventually broke up the marriage. Mickey's personal life was so wild that MGM assigned him his own publicist, Les Peterson, to keep him in line. But Peterson did more than just arrange interviews and handle fan letters. He acted as a babysitter, making sure Mickey didn't get into too much trouble. Peterson even placed bets for Mickey at the racetrack and kept quiet about Mickey's parties, like the notorious one at Errol Flynn's house, which ended in scandal. While Mickey knew Peterson was there to control him, Judy didn't realize how closely MGM was keeping tabs on her too. The studio assigned Judy a personal assistant named Betty Asher, who seemed like a friend but was actually hired to spy on her. Betty became close to Judy, so close that people rumored they were romantically involved. In reality, Betty was secretly reporting back to MGM about everything Judy did. Judy didn't know about this for years, and when she finally found out, it crushed her. She felt betrayed by someone she had trusted and confided in. The last movie Mickey and Judy made together was Girl Crazy. By that time, real-life troubles had taken a toll on both of them. Judy was dealing with heartbreak over an abortion that her mother and MGM had pushed her into. She turned to alcohol to deal with her pain, adding it to the mix of pills she was already taking to get through the day. Her behavior on set became erratic, and she often showed up late or had difficulty focusing. Around the same time, Mickey received a draft notice. MGM's Louis B. Mayer tried to pull some strings to keep Mickey from having to go to war, but once the newspapers caught wind of it, the situation turned ugly. Eventually, MGM let Mickey go serve. He joined special services and entertained troops in the US and Europe until 1946. When he returned to Hollywood, he tried to pick up where he left off by making another Andy Hardy movie, but things had changed. Mickey was 26 now, too old for the role, and audiences had moved on from the small-town stories that made him famous. For the first time, Mickey struggled to find his place in Hollywood, and by the end of the decade, MGM dropped him. While Mickey was overseas, Judy's career reached new heights. She starred in Meet Me in St. Louis and The Clock, with her then-husband Vincente Minnelli, and they even welcomed a daughter, Liza Minnelli. But Judy's health continued to decline, and her addiction to pills and alcohol grew worse. In 1947, she suffered a nervous breakdown while filming The Pirate. She managed to finish that movie and go on to make Easter Parade, her biggest box office success, but the struggles behind the scenes kept piling up. Eventually, in 1949, MGM let her go. By the early 1950s, the era of child stars like Mickey and Judy was ending, and so was the MGM family that had once felt like a home to them. Louis B. Mayer left MGM in 1951, and Mary McDonald, the school teacher who had taught so many young stars, stayed on until the last student graduated in 1965. The Hollywood these stars had grown up in had faded away, leaving behind memories of the movies and the golden age that shaped their lives. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more similar stories. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update, and let us know in the comments. What surprised you most about Mickey and Judy's story? We'd love to hear your thoughts.